Good evening. We're calling to order the Wilmington Town Board of Appeals meeting for July 22nd, 2020. It is now 7:01. I'm going to read the preamble that pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law under General Law 30A, Section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. Members of the public who wish to watch and to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: via WCTV Channel 9 Comcast Xfinity, Channel 37 Verizon Fios, and live streaming on WCTV.org. This meeting of the Wilmington Board of Appeals is being conducted via remote participation, and therefore no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Members of the public who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may also do so via telephone by dialing 1-646-558-8656 and enter meeting ID number 849-6025-2111. Attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by following the steps previously noted. Then press *9 on your telephone keypad. This will notify the meeting host that the caller wishes to speak. All callers using this feature will be placed in queue in the order that they enter the prompt. In the event that despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide for real-time access, we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as we are able. A full member of the board being present, I'm going to call the first and only item on the docket is case 920. It's a continued case from our June 24th, 2020 meeting. Princeton Development, LLC, map 89, parcels 8, 9, 10, 13A, 13B, Middlesex Avenue and Jefferson Road. And they are seeking to acquire a comprehensive permit under Mass General Law, Chapter 40B. I believe this is the fourth or fifth meeting we've had on this particular application. So I guess what I will do, I believe the substantive issues have been discussed unless there's any update that the applicant wishes to provide to the board. So I'll open it up by having the applicant, give me a summation of where we stand, if there's anything additional that the board needs to consider. And then what I will then do is open it up to the members of the board who have any questions or comments of the applicant or any comments about the application. I will then go to public comment. After doing so, I anticipate closing the public hearing and then going back to the board to deliberate and possibly entertain any motion. But before, I guess, Andrew, before I go to you, what I kind of wanted to do, I don't know if a lot of the members of the board, other than myself, and even myself, it's very limited experience with 40Bs. Maybe if Jonathan, you can kind of tell us the lay of the land, how these usually go through, the procedure that the board should undertake in deliberating and considering this. And then I'll go to the applicant to give a summation if that works.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jonathan Silverstein, Town Council. So obviously the board it doesn't get a lot of comprehensive permit applications, and I don't know that, at least in the time I've been working with you, there have been any, and certainly not any local initiative projects or lit projects. So I'm happy to sort of walk you through what is pretty customary. I think the board has had a chance to look at the draft decision that town staff, specifically the Planning and Conservation Director and Assistant Town Engineer, and I have been working on for a couple weeks now with the applicant's team. And we think it's pretty comprehensive. We think it covers everything that has been discussed by the peer reviewers that the board has engaged, and a number of other items that have come up during the public hearings. And again, I know I said this at the last hearing session, I believe, but it is pretty common since unlike a special permit or variance, the customary way that comprehensive permits are dealt with is that at the comprehensive permit stage, the applicant submits preliminary plans. So given that preliminary development plans are before you, you want to make sure that the final plans are going to reflect everything that your peer reviewers and other commenters have identified as important conditions. So that's why this decision is going to look a little more comprehensive than what you may be used to looking at. The other piece of it is, again, it's called a comprehensive permit because it's one-stop shopping. You're sitting not only as the Zoning Board of Appeals, but also as the Planning Board, and to a limited extent as the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission. This comprehensive permit is supposed to govern or cover all of the local permitting requirements under local bylaws and regulations. So again, you might be used to seeing a site plan approval come through from the planning board that has a lot of conditions along the lines of what you see in this draft decision, but you're not going to see that here because you're sitting as the planning board as well as the Board of Appeals. So that's just by way of introducing the document that I know was sent out on Friday, and I know it's a lot to digest, but I think I can speak for Valerie and Paul in saying that we think it really covers everything that's been discussed during this process.
Let me ask you, Jonathan, and this is just an initial question I have. I've gone through, and I trust the other members of the board have done so as well. I've gone through the different peer review studies on the attendant issues. Have the concerns of the town, and maybe this is a question better directed to you and Valerie, have the concerns of the town been addressed on tweaks with it that they needed or wanted or required? Is there any outstanding issues that there has been a failure to agree to something that's to submit to us? What's the status of the town's peer review vis-a-vis the applicant's initial proposal?
Right. So I'd say no. We've had a lot of back and forth about this draft decision. There've been a lot of different versions that we've exchanged. At this point, there might be, I think there are some tweaks, dates of plans, some language changes, but in terms of the substance of the decision, this covers everything. And I believe Valerie is on the line as well, and I don't want to speak for her, but my understanding is that this decision, that is the draft decision that's before you, covers all of the issues that have been identified by the town's peer reviewers.
Valerie, would you substantially concur with what Attorney Silverstein's saying?
Yes, I think we combed through this. We added things to it. We made sure that everything that was talked about in both staff letters and during the meetings was covered as a condition. So we feel good about the conditions that are in here and the wording. Like Jonathan said, there's a couple things, like checking the exhibit plan dates, just to make sure that the right date is there, things like that. But those are issues regarding, form, not substance, correct? That's right.
Okay. Well, then I guess, Andrew, I'll go to you then and let you give a summation, provide the board with anything that additional that we need to entertain since our last meeting, and then let us know what you're requesting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. For the record, Andrew Chabin with Princeton Properties. With me are my colleagues Dan Endyke and Jeff Brown, as well as Joe Pesnola and Brian Goudreau from Hancock Associates, our civil engineers. Mr. Chairman, I believe that both Attorney Silverstein and the Director of Conservation and Planning summed up exactly where we stand. A tremendous amount of work has gone into this document back and forth over the last 2 weeks. We do not believe that there is any material item that is outstanding. We worked hard to get that done so that the board could see that draft and have it in plenty of time as was requested by the members. So we made sure that that was done by Friday afternoon. And Ms. Malatesta was good enough to get it out to all of you, I believe. So I'm hoping everyone's had a chance to look it through. It is more substantial than normal, but everything, Mr. Chairman, that Jonathan and Valerie said, we echo. We work in an awful lot of communities. Joe Pesnola probably works on more 40Bs than any civil engineer out there. And I can tell you that the level of professionalism of the staff, Valerie, Paul, Jonathan, all of them to one, and Kelly, has been terrific. It has been tough but fair, and we believe we have a document in front of you tonight that we can all live with. So, Mr. Chairman, we believe we presented everything. The document, I believe, at this point speaks for itself, and we're looking to move forward.
Okay. So seeing that there's nothing substantive to the project that you wish to submit since our last meeting, I'm now going to go to the board. Hopefully everyone has had an opportunity, this being either our fourth or fifth meeting on it, I can't recall, but we've had a volume of material to digest. I hope everyone has had a chance to do that. I have. I guess as an initial comment, I will just state for the record, I have no problem with this project. I mean, nothing's perfect, but seeing that we need to get to our affordable housing threshold, this will take us to that point. I also understand that there is a significant, I think it's how much money, Mr. Manager, are we looking for a grant from the state for that culvert?
The grant is expected to be about 2.5 million from the state.
Okay, so we have a culvert that I understand the town engineer has identified as one of, if not the highest priority on his list for the town, that we stand to get a grant of $2.5 million from the state connected to this project. That's on a rather tight time frame.
Just to be clear, just to be clear, Mr. Chair, that includes not only the culvert, but the sewer line, but certainly a substantial portion of that grant is for the culvert.
I mean, that's significant. I mean, that's a significant boon for the town. I also understand the applicants contributing $250,000 to the North Wilmington substation. Again, I reviewed the plan. It does not appear to be anything that I find objectionable. And seeing that it's going to do a lot of good for the town moving forward on more than just one front, I stand in favor of the project. I think that the items that were outstanding that have been identified, from what I understand, the applicant has been very accommodating to the town and working with the town to address any and all issues that were raised. So I stand in firm support of it. But now I'm going to open it up to the board for my brothers and sister, if they have any questions or comments of the applicant.
Dan, I'd have to say, I agree with your statements. We've had 5 meetings or 4 meetings, and I don't think we've heard very many, if any, concerns about the project.
Not from the public, Tony. I mean, I read the substance of one letter from a member of the public, but in the 5 meetings during the open meeting portion of it, I've been astounded that we can't have a special permit without somebody chiming in. And we've had 5 meetings on this, and not one person has called in to weigh in opposition or either way on this. So I agree with you. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I don't. I think it's good for the town for housing stock. As you said, no project is perfect. At least with the project of this nature, the town has had substantial say in it, and is in a sense a partner in it. So I'm in favor of it, and I feel confident that Valerie and the town engineer have done their due diligence. So I'm relying heavily on their review and their acceptance of the project. I really couldn't add anything to it that I haven't seen already added. So I'm in favor of the project.
And I'll add that this, before it even got to us, the Board of Selectmen approved it, and in fact are acting as a party to the application. So it's not something where we usually have a developer coming before the board and asking for something. We actually have an application where the town is joined as an interested party. So I think it's important to note that the selectmen have before us even seeing this, have voted in favor of it. So anyone else have any questions or comments from the board?
I don't mind chiming in. So I understand, I'm not against it. I think there's a lot of positives to it, but my concern about the height, I still don't have, if you show me in writing, I mean, I know on page, oh, actually, I was on the wrong page. Well, A7, I think, talks a little bit about it, but I was hoping for like a picture of a side view, because can you tell me it was lowered? Because then I'll be like all for it. Because I disagreed on the 9-foot ceilings. So.
Ms. Santini, it's Andrew. Let me see if I can respond to your concern about the height, because we did take it seriously. We did have the architect come in, and town staff also commented that they wanted the architectural details to de-emphasize the height. So that's been done. We did supply a drawing and we did supply a narrative at the last meeting. So it should be in your packet, and I'm sure that if we need to get it to you, we certainly can, but it was supplied.
Okay.
We did do a survey of all of the competitive projects that have been built within a 5-mile radius, over 108 units, which is what we have here. Starting, the most recent one is Emery Flats in Woburn. There's the Avalon project that's being built at the Woburn Mall, and we can go on and on and list them. There's not a product that is out there that has ceiling heights lower than 9 feet. It has become the standard. Our pro forma that we submitted to the state and gave a copy to the town shows that we're trying to rent these 2-bedroom apartments for $2,700 to $2,800 a month, with the residents paying their utilities on the market rate side. That's a substantial number, and we have to give them a product. We can't just give them a location, which we like, and we believe, as you well know, being a realtor, location, location, location. We have to give them a product for that kind of number. In the last month, Canadian softwood lumber has gone up by 50%. Our construction costs from the time that we envisioned building this property to today have probably gone up in the aggregate over 3%. We looked at anything we could do to try and lower the height of the building without creating what we consider to be a marketable problem, marketable to the residents, marketable to, frankly, to the financing for the project. And we would be out of character with our competitors if we lowered the ceiling heights. We have taken into account your commentary. We have changed the architecture, and plans were turned in to that effect. So we want to make sure that we heard you, and we did go out into the marketplace and look. But any new product that we've been able to survey, we cannot find anything that has lower heights. As a matter of fact, most of the top level units that all have vaulted ceilings, which we're not doing on this product, but all the ones that have vaulted ceilings exceed 10'3". So we're at the 9-foot level just to be competitive, Ms. Santini. Look, I would love to lower the heights because it would cost us less money. The less volume that we build, the lower the construction costs. So we would love to lessen the amount that we actually have to build, but we can't do it and be competitive.
So I guess I'm kind of, does everybody else have the picture, or, because I don't know where mine is, or where like I haven't seen it.
I can't remember, Jackie, if it came as an email or in the mail. I thought it was, I can't remember if it was an email or a mail, but there was an elevation where they added some horizontal banding that was at the same elevation, I think, as the exterior decks.
That's correct.
I mean, it wasn't a substantial change, but it was a change to stress the horizontal axis of the building and take away from the vertical axis of the building. It didn't change the height of the building. It just changed the appearance, and I think it was responding to a comment that either the planning board or Valerie actually made. It was also responding to their comments as well.
So I remember that conversation that we had, and that's when I said, like, are we going to get a picture of it? And I didn't see it come out.
It's Jeff Brown. If you have the package, it's Exhibit E.
All right. Well.
At the very back, updated plan set July 9th, 2020.
All right, well, you can come back to me because I need to find it.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there's a way that somebody could pop that up.
I just popped it up.
There it is, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Can everyone see that?
So let me ask you this, is that the same height as you did in North Andover?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can see the bubbled areas, Ms. Santini, where, and I wish I could zoom this in better, but I'm technologically lacking. But these areas are where he added the more horizontal features to kind of break up the comment you had made a couple meetings ago was it's just too vertical. And so Rob really took that serious, and he made the comment to me. He said, if I do much more, it's going to turn into sort of a layer cake. I don't want that to happen, but let me add some accents. And that's what he tried to do. He appreciated your comment, and he tried to address it as best he could.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you taking it serious.
No problem.
Anybody else from the board wish to care to make a comment or ask a question of the applicant before I open up and close the public hearing? Can you pop that down so I can see the folks on the board so I can kind of read if they want to chime in? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ray, you all set?
All set.
Tom, you all set?
I'm all set.
Okay, then I'm going to open up the public hearing. Mr. O'Neill, is there anybody that wishes to be heard on this that's in queue?
We currently do not have any callers, Mr. Chair.
I'm gonna wait a full 60 seconds. If you could time that for me, Mr. O'Neill. I just want to give everybody an opportunity if they want to chime in. I find it shocking. Maybe it's to the strength of the project, maybe it's to the forum, but I find it shocking that we've had a 40B that's gone through 5 hearings and no one's cared to call in and comment. So, but that's what it is. So if you can tell me when the 60 seconds is up, I'll close the hearing.
Understood, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, while we're waiting for potential callers, I just want to make the point, and really it's a kind of a re-emphasis of what has been stated by others, but clearly this is a project that has been endorsed by a majority of the Board of Selectmen. I'll just note that initially back in September of last year, Andrew contacted me to talk about the prospect of a project here. By way of history, we had been contacted a year prior by another developer who was looking to also construct apartment units on this same space, and he was looking at 350 units. So clearly this was a much smaller scale, more appropriate scale. They originally came in looking at 120 units. We had some internal discussions with Mr. Chabin and Chair of the Board of Selectmen at the time, Greg Bendel, Valerie, and myself. And ultimately, Greg brought it to the full board back in September of last year. He provided an overview of what they conceptually were looking to do. Some discussions took place from there and then brought it back to the board again in January of this past year, and provided some greater detail. In the meantime, based upon some discussions that went back and forth, agreed to one of the concerns that some board members had was the number of units. Agreed to lower the number from 120 to 108. And so one of the striking things, quite frankly, that I picked up on and was the ability to work constructively with this group. And I think it points to the fact that we can either, there's been an awful lot of talk over the last few years about the need for affordable housing. Valerie has clearly pointed out over the last 2 or 3 years that with the 2020 census, we will be below 10%, and we're now opening ourselves up to others to come in that perhaps have their own designs and are much less willing to accommodate. And so at a point in time, we have to have more than talk. And I think this particular project is an opportunity to take action that will not only address the affordability component and keep us at 10%, but also provides the diversity of housing that we need, and quite frankly, creates what I would describe as the seed for further activity in that area, whether it's retail. The area, I think it's fair to say from anyone who looks at it objectively, with the existing building, with all due respect to the folks that have businesses there, and it's no disregard or disrespect to the businesses, but that space is a tired space. And I think this is an opportunity to upgrade visually and functionally that space and achieve what we really need to achieve here, which is additional affordable units, a diversity of housing, and create that niche space we've talked about, which is a neighborhood mixed use area. So again, I think it's something that the Board of Selectmen endorse, I endorse, and I'm hopeful that we can move forward.
Excellent. All right, Mr. O'Neill.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Hold on, Tom. I gave the manager a little leeway. He actually spoke during the public comments, but I want to at least close the public hearing, Tom. I'm going to give you an opportunity to say anything you want to say. But Mr. O'Neill, is there anybody that called in during the manager's discussion that wishes to be heard?
Mr. Chair, there have been no callers.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Now, Tom, I'm going to bring it back to the board and have at it. Whatever you want to say, Tom.
Okay, so I want to say a few things about this project, and I'm going to close with what I'm going to do with this project myself. So, I don't like the undue influence we get from the town manager and the Board of Selectmen and all the nice things, the program. This is undue influence. We should be voting on the applicant's merits. And I want to say the merits, this has been a remarkable job that the applicant has done. They've done everything that they can. They've given us all the details. They've sent us all the information. They've done a great job. So I want to vote for this, not because of all the outside influences and how wonderful it's going to be for the town and everything. I mean, the town manager and the Board of Selectmen should not be influencing the board with this kind of thing. We should go on the merits of the applicant. In this particular case, I think the applicant has done a fine job.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I will say this, Tom, as a board, we can do whatever we want to do. I think, the fact, I think it should be pointed out, though, that unlike other 40Bs, this is a project that the town is joining in, whereas before it's getting kind of rammed down our throat. So I don't think it's necessarily untoward to at least mention to the board that the town is joined as an interested party in this particular application. But us as a board, we can do whatever we want to do. So your point is well taken. Is there anybody else that wishes to be heard?
Yes, but I didn't know if Tom wanted to say something else.
No, Tom, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, Jackie.
Chairman, so through you, I want to know, so right now, this project has 108 units, and we have been told that, like, if we don't vote for this, then it's potential that 300 and whatever could be going in there, which yeah, I guess anything's possible if you go to the, up and up. But I want to know, so the space that they have for 108 units, and knowing that the land in the back there's more land for if it's wetlands, or if it's that there's more land, because I don't know where you would have put 300 plus, but I want to know, there's no other way, there's no more building that's going to go behind the building B. Is that correct?
That is correct, Ms. Santini. The project that it takes into account is a 23-acre parcel, and that takes into account that large island, if you will, that's in the back that theoretically is upland and theoretically is developable. So the 23 acres will be included in the entirety of the 40B, and the maximum number of residential units on that 23-acre parcel in perpetuity, or as close as law will allow, is 108 units.
But there's no other building that's going to go on.
There's no other building going on these 23 acres. No.
Nothing else on. Okay. I'm going to double check.
And just as an aside, and correct me somebody if they think I'm wrong, I think what the manager was saying, Jackie, is this is what they call a friendly 40B, where they're kind of like working with us and allowing us to help massage the project. If we fall under our 10%, then someone can come in and ram something down our throat that could be substantially more units. I don't know if they meant more units at this spot, although I guess that had been previously discussed. But I think what the manager, with the thrust of what he was saying, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if we can do this way and kind of massage it so it's more palatable for the town, it's better than if we fall below the 10% and then don't have any input. Is that right, Jeff?
That's right. I mean, and it's not to suggest that a project could necessarily physically fit 350 units in that space, but at the end of the day, there are other places in town. We all know the Sharapa property is the last large piece of property in town. That's certainly a softball out there ready to be hit by whoever it is that wants to do a large scale development. Quite frankly, I'd rather be able to work with folks that you can work with on a project like this, as opposed to leaving ourselves wide open for a hostile 40B in a place like that, or some other place where there's going to be much more opposition. And then, of course, the feedback comes, why didn't the town do something? Well, here's an opportunity to do something.
Understood. Okay, anybody else wish to be heard? Okay, then does anybody care to make a motion? And I guess I'm gonna, before I open it to a motion, Jonathan, if you could just edify not just the other members of the board, but myself, what would be the proper manner by which to introduce a motion? Would it be to, if you were inclined, would it be to approve this project subject to the draft conditions you sent to us? What's the best way to do this?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that would be the appropriate motion. And I guess just to give us a little bit of room to make the final finishing touches in terms of tweaking some of the language, dates of plans, etc. Just to add to that and to authorize staff and town council to finalize and file the decision with the town clerk.
So I noticed that I look and I see that the members were submitted a redlined proposed conditions today. Mm-hmm. So would that be dated today? Was that prepared today, Jonathan?
It was. I don't think I think you can just say in the form decision in the form submitted to the board
on July 22nd.
Exactly.
Okay.
And again, to allow non-substantive changes as to form. None of the conditions are going to change, except we might tweak the electric vehicle charging station around the edges. There's a condition that sort of had placeholder language, so that might be tweaked a little bit. But other than that, none of the conditions will change. It's really just some of the findings and references to the plan set, et cetera. And then I think there's a waiver list that's attached, and the planning and conservation director and I discussed that waiver list. And I think, Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong, we were comfortable with the form of the waiver list.
Yeah.
The only thing I would point out, just one thing that for the board to discuss, the applicant is asking for a waiver of 50% of the municipal utility fees, water, sewer, fire protection, only as they apply to the affordable units. Now, in the agreement that the Board of Selectmen signed, the Board of Selectmen agreed to such a waiver request, 50% of the fire protection fee, but not water and sewer connection fees. I believe at one point the town manager had consulted with the town engineer about what dollar-wise we were looking at. I don't think it was too substantial. I'm looking, but cannot put my fingers on the email that I think the town manager had received from the town engineer. I don't know, Mr. Hall, if you have that handy. I'll keep looking.
My recall, I don't have it in front of me, but it was something in the order of $2,500. So given the scale of things here, I think it's a relatively de minimis amount.
Who would eat that, Jeff? Who would pay that?
It would just be borne, absorbed by the town, essentially. So it would not be, paid by the developer in this case.
Gotcha.
Jonathan, the agreements that the applicant made with the Board of Selectmen, they've been referenced many times throughout this process. I don't think I've ever seen the document. Does that document get attached to this? Because I don't believe
it was
the stuff you're talking about. I just didn't. I don't know the difference, but are those requirements included in this?
Yes,
they are in here.
So the LIP agreement, which is what we're calling the memorandum of agreement that the Board of Selectmen executed with the developer, I know it was submitted with their original application, and it was in one of your packets.
Yep.
I don't know if Ms. Malatesta recalls exactly where, but I know it was part of what was submitted to you.
But it's been incorporated into this document now.
Right. We went through and made sure that all of those requirements are part of this agreement. It's also, just so you know, independently enforceable. If there were ever a violation of any of those agreements, that would be a breach of contract. So the town would be able to enforce it that way, in addition to through the comprehensive permit.
Okay.
Anybody else or anybody care to make a motion?
So can I ask a question though? But so this waiver, is it just like a one-time deal, or is it for forever?
One time,
So it's only for the connection fees. It would not apply to service fees. So the owners of those units would pay their normal water and sewer bills. There would be no discount on that. This is only for the connection fee.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody care to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Barletta, go for it.
I'd like to make a motion for case 9-20 for Princeton Development LLC to grant a comprehensive permit pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40B. And as stated,
Subject to the conditions provided as of this date on July 22nd.
there you go. Yep.
There we go. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Lepore, you have a second. We're going to have to take a roll call vote. Ms. Santini,
Yes, yes,
is that a yes?
yes.
Okay, we have one yes. Mr. Barletta, was your motion?
Yes.
Your yes. Mr. Lepore,
Yes.
Mr. Siracusa,
Yes.
and then myself is a yes as well. So it's been approved unanimously. Nice job, everybody. Congratulations, and just do a good project, okay?
Mr. Chairman, we will not let you or the members or the town staff down. We really look forward to working with everyone. This is the beginning, certainly not the end.
All right, folks. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Just
Thanks,
one
everyone.
point, Jonathan, do you need to have within that motion, your authorization to finalize these small edits?
I'm comfortable. The board clearly understands that there's going to be some changes, some tweaks to the decision. The conditions aren't going to change other than fleshing out the electric vehicle charging station condition.
Okay.
So unless any board member has a concern with that, I'm comfortable.
Yeah, Jonathan, if we're assuming that the only changes are to form and de minimis, if there's anything that's substantive, I assume you're going to notify the board.
Certainly.
Okay. Thank you very much, folks. That's the only item on our normal agenda or docket. Miss Malatesta, is there anything else that we need to deal with today?
No, there is not.
Okay, and what's our next meeting date?
That would be August 12th at 7 p.m. And we only have
Okay.
one case on for that.
You only have what?
One case for that August 12th meeting.
Okay, if I will say this, if there's only one case, I might want to go on vacation. I haven't had a vacation in about a year or almost a year, but I'll hang around if need be. But if there's only one case and they don't mind kicking it over, maybe that's something we can discuss. But as of now, I'll be present on that date.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Yes.
good job pulling this stuff together. This was a tough one. I think you handled it professionally and perfectly. I thank you for that.
I appreciate that, Tom, very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, having said that, do we have anyone care to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Lepore. We'll go Ms. Santini,
Yay.
Mr. Barletta,
Yes.
Mr. Lepore,
Yes.
Mr. Siracusa,
Yes.
and myself. Meeting is adjourned. Next meeting on tentatively scheduled for August 12th. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night,
Thank you all
everyone.
for your time.
All right.